first-time caller in Tennessee. Alex is on the line. Alex, thanks for calling and holding. What's up?
What's up, Hake? How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
All is well. All is well.
Nice.
So I was thinking about the whole, it kind of reminded me of the biblical question to some extent, because I watched that Putin interview, and yeah, he seemed pretty logical and lucid. I didn't see any unhinged thing that people are talking about. I don't know. I didn't really see anything like that. But the part of it that I kind of disagreed with, because I don't really know the historical context of all that stuff, I'm just assuming he's telling the truth about that, is where he started talking about the Nazis and all that stuff, the neo-Nazis, and how they can't be allowed to exist, and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And it's like, it reminded me of the biblical question in that, where he says, why does God allow the devil to attack you? You have to ask yourself, well, why does God allow the devil to exist, period, first?
Yeah.
Because that's not an easy question to answer. And I've kind of reflected on this quite a bit over the years that I've been listening to Jesse, and kind of reflecting on what it means that the devil exists. And the devil, at least to the way it seems to be clearest to me, is that the devil is a consequence of the observable dichotomies of existence. So in order to have down, you got to have up. In order to have hot, you got to have cold. If you don't have a concept of if you have a concept of good, you're going to have a concept of evil. And so if you judge something as good, well, now you have to you have to recognize that there's an opposite to that: positive, negative, darkness, light. And so the devil is a way to explain evil as we see it, as existing. And so the devil allows it to exist, God allows it to exist because it's what we see. We see evil, and we have to have a way to understand that it exists, period. Does that make sense?
You're saying that we should allow the evil to exist? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, we have no choice but to observe its reality.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons why the United States is such an interesting place and why Christianity is such an interesting religion is that it allows for the devil to exist, but it allows you also to understand that you, as an individual, have the freedom to turn away from it and turn towards something that is whole and something that is actually oriented towards the light or towards good, and that you don't have to work with dichotomies specifically, that you can be free of that stuff, that you're not trapped in one. You don't have to pick a side. You can discern between right and wrong and good and evil with lucidity, and you don't have to. And you can be clear about it without being caught up in, choosing a team or any of that kind of stuff. You can see it, you can correct it, as you say, in a Christian way. You can correct things that are wrong, but you can do it without being the judge about it, without being angry or hating.
I like the notion of freedom, allowing other people to be wrong, protecting yourself from them, and protecting your community, your country, your state from evil. But evil is going to get a foothold a lot of the time. And it's and you mentioned Christianity. Christianity is about self-control. Because that's like one of the fruits of the Spirit, if you will, self-control. It's in the Bible. Not other people control, not controlling other people.
about watching yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which is what the United States is really about. It's about individual. It's about that you can be as great as you want to be, or you can be as crappy as you want to be.
Yeah.
You know,
freedom.
And you could be a bum if you want to be, or you could be entrepreneur and a billionaire if you want to be.
Freedom
It's
of
like
speech, freedom of religion, whatever else.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to be a part of some group, whether it's a neo-Nazi group or a Black Lives Matter group or a whatever, you know, you name it. You can just be you, and that's taken from Christianity, and that's why people, I don't think people really appreciate how deeply rooted the idea of the United States is in the idea of Christianity and what it means, because it's about you and the temple being you. You are the temple.
Yeah.
And it's a spiritual battle within, and whatever's going on out there that's that. I mean, the boundaries of the country are, they are what they are, and in order for us to protect that idea, we have to understand what it means in the first place. Otherwise, it's meaningless.
Putin felt threatened from the so-called neo-Nazis over in Ukraine, or I don't know if he felt threatened, but he felt that they had no place being there in Ukraine because they were honoring, setting up as heroes people who worked with Hitler who maybe did some bad things. He told one story, and I don't know if this was a so-called neo-Nazi, but he told one story of a guy who was in maybe another country, like another like more normal European country, if you will, who like drove over the heads of like Russian soldiers and killed them. Mm-hmm. And sorry, kids and ladies, faint of heart. Just a horrifying situation. I don't know who did that, and I don't know what the motivation was, what their ideology, what the male's ideology was who did that. But I disagree with the notion that just because you say something that so-called neo-Nazis also say, that means that you are leading towards some Holocaust or some war crimes or something. Because everybody does war crimes. Everybody does evil. Everybody's full of hatred and genocide, if you want to do these liberal words. And the lie, there are ideologies that are based on lies, and there are ideologies that are based on truths or facts, and some of them are maybe more associated with anger and viciousness and violence than others. But I think that there is a scaremongering going on with regard to the whites and the German one.
For sure. And I think that part of it, I mean, I think, like I said, a lot of the historical stuff, I have to assume he's being honest with that, because I don't know. I haven't really looked into it myself, so I don't really know that for sure. I have heard that before about the whole NATO thing, and that there was agreements that NATO wasn't to expand, and it kept on expanding. And
right.
And it's like, I mean, at what point do you say, oh, all right, enough is enough? You know, here's you've crossed too many lines now.
Yeah.
I mean, and everybody has, to be able to protect themselves.
Kevin Howe in chat points to himself, never has done war crimes. Oh, but you've done spiritual war crimes, Kevin Howe. I'm sure of it. That's what I mean. In your heart.
You got to call evil by its true name.
Yeah, in your evil. Yeah, right. Because war crimes is just a political term. They just use it against each other.
Just like racism and sexism and all that kind of stuff. It's just another name for evil.
Yeah, it's a phony made-up word.
Right, and then you can disguise it in all kinds of different ways.
Yeah.
Someone can be just defending themselves, and you could say, "Oh, you did war crime," and it's like, okay, well, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. Like George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman defended himself, and Oprah Winfrey against Trayvon Martin, right? He he shot him in self-defense. You can only assume. You presume innocent unless proven guilty, and there was no proof that he did anything really wrong. So, like, he did that, and then Oprah Winfrey said there's no difference between what happened to Trayvon Martin and what happened to, who's that guy from the 50s or 60s? His father was executed for rape and
I don't know. I don't know about that one.
he got kidnapped by a father and a son-in-law or something like that, and tortured allegedly, and they had an open casket funeral for him. Man, I used to talk about him all the time. I'm blanking on this guy's name. This 14-year-old guy who supposedly whistled at a white... Emmett Till. Thank you, Big Mitch 909.
Oh, yeah. That was like in Chicago or something like that.
Yeah, so Emmett Till was kidnapped, reportedly, right? Reportedly, allegedly kidnapped and murdered and maybe tortured, mutilated, perhaps. There's no comparison between that. And Emmett Till was not innocent, I don't think. He did some wrong stuff. The woman went and got her gun. I don't think that this woman who was running a business would have gotten her gun if he had just merely whistled at her. I think he might have done more than just whistled at her, but I don't know. I wasn't there. But there's no comparison between what happened to Trayvon Martin, which was killed in self-defense, and Emmett Till, who was kidnapped and murdered allegedly.
No, it's a very different situation. And the other thing too is that we got to stop with this court of public opinion.
I agree.
Situation before anything happens legally, because it's completely anti what the whole point of having things done in a proper legal fashion.
Yeah.
Innocent until proven guilty. It's quite the opposite nowadays.
Right.
Where someone accuses you of something, you're immediately, as soon as if it makes it to the news, especially, you're immediately presumed to be guilty.
Yeah.
And which is preposterous. It's not the way it should be.
Yeah.
Because of the darkness of the human heart and the fact that people lie. I mean, and you just never know. I mean, like, people probably tell more lies and live by more lies than they do by the truth already to start with.
So true, man.
Anyway, so I know you got to get to more things, but I just wanted to
No, man, great call. I appreciate it.
Dichotomy and all that kind of thing, because it is observable and it is logical, that we observe evil, and so the devil, so God even allows the devil to exist because it's what we see.
Right.
And because as long as we judge, which we will always suffer from this, it's the human condition.
Right.
As long as we judge, the devil exists. Period. But the cool thing is that in Christianity, at least, it's so logical in that God has made a way for you to be able to overcome that by turning away from the darkness, which is just the absence of the light.
Nice, man.
No power.
Appreciate you, Alex. Call me again sometime in Tennessee.
All right. I wish you well.
All right, you too. Emmett Till committed war crimes. Hake has a 2-hour show in which he knows nothing. Says, come on, man. And yet he's still in the snake pit. Well, the snake pit is very entertaining, even when Hake is not.